Welcome everyone to Reconciliations Made Easy with Oracle Account Reconciliation Cloud. This is Courtney Allen and I will be presenting today. If you have any questions pertaining to any topic discussed today, I ask that you put them in the chat window and I will address them at the end.
Now a little bit about NRL. Our goal is to build strong collaborative connections with our clients to help them glean meaningful insights from their data analytics that ultimately drives improved business performance. Our mission is to leave the world a smarter place than we found it. At NRL, we're all about relationships. Our brand name is based on the idea of interrelationships. That's the way in which two or more things or people are connected and affect one another. This year, NRL was recognized as Oracle's Analytics Partner of the Year. We are 4-time winners of Oracle's BI and EPM Partner of the Year. We have been listed 9 times in Inc.'s annual guide to the 5,000 fastest growing privately held companies in the U.S. In our organization, we have 6 Oracle ACE directors and ACEs. This is a designation awarded to individuals who are prolific in spreading knowledge about Oracle software. We've published several best-selling books on Hyperion, Essbase, Oracle BI, and EPM Cloud. We offer a full set of services from strategic assessments and consulting to technical support. We maintain close partnerships with Oracle. We have a good relationship with Oracle Product Management. We were the first to implement Oracle Essbase, planning, and financial consolidations in the cloud. At NRO, we have been in the EPM and BI space since 1997. Our company employs consultants with an average of 9+ years of EPM experience. We have completed over 1,000 EPM projects implementing solutions across several industries such as healthcare, financial services, education, retail, technology, consumer goods, energy, manufacturing, and insurance. At NRL, we pride ourselves in offering free education in the form of Play It Forward videos, roadshows, webcasts, and blog posts.
Now let's shift our attention to the topic of today's webcast, Reconciliations Made Easy with Account Reconciliation Cloud. Let's answer the question, what is a reconciliation? Simply put, it is a validation that the balance in an account is correct. We may want to take a different approach to validating or reconciling an account based on the type of account it is or the risk associated with that account. Typically for accounts like cash, we have a bank balance we can compare to our GL balance. For accounts payable, we can compare a subledger balance to our GL balance. For accounts receivable, we may have some concerns about aging of receivables, so instead of loading a subledger balance for comparison, we may load the subledger detail instead, so we can analyze and monitor aging more closely. Similarly, with fixed assets, we could do a subledger to GL comparison, or we may want to do a detailed analysis of roll forward activity. For accounts like prepaids and accruals, we will likely want to document the composition of the balance and justify it. Let's look at the typical challenges in the account reconciliation process. It appears that it is the number one non-data related delay in the close process. On average, 30% of close time is spent validating data. So many organizations have inefficient processes relying on large numbers of Excel files in various formats. In some cases, there are no common procedures for reconciling accounts by account type. Preparers and reviewers could potentially follow different procedures when validating accounts from region to region. Management really has no visibility to potential risk in their process. For example, is every account being reconciled? How do they know? Are reconciliations being completed? It's possible that some are lost or even missing due to human error. How easy is it to put together a report? just to summarize the information across reconciliations? How much time is required to gather data and perform reconciliations? Can the reconciliation process be audited without issues? We should let Account Reconciliation Cloud be the solution to centralize and bring automation and governance to the process. Simple tasks that would take humans hours to do can be performed almost instantaneously with automated processes. To summarize the challenges in account reconciliations, we know that manual processes are time-consuming and error-prone. Incomplete information will result when we don't have tools to access and gather accurate data. Audit issues are going to be inevitable when documentation is lacking and procedures and practices are inconsistent across organizations. Management has limited visibility when no system exists to pull everything together effectively. Security cannot easily be guaranteed when critical information resides in spreadsheets and is shared via email. And as for governance, if management wanted to ensure an action plan was created when a certain out-of-balance threshold was exceeded, they can't easily enforce their policy without a system in place. Account Reconciliation Cloud addresses these pain points and challenges. It enables automated account reconciliations, and I will show you that it is very easy to apply auto reconciliation rules. The tool provides governance and real-time status reporting. I will show you how dashboards, views, filters, and reports can be used to gain real-time access. And again, the system has a menu-driven, structured approach to rule definitions, which will allow management to take control of their process without the need for much IT support. Account Reconciliation Cloud offers a high degree of security and can be integrated with your local network security, eliminating the need to maintain a separate account and password. Account Reconciliation Cloud addresses the global reconciliation challenges with a solution that reduces risk by providing real-time visibility into performance of account reconciliations. It provides tools to ensure all reconciliations are properly qualified and helps companies streamline and optimize performance through automation of certain reconciliation tasks. It supports risk-based reconciliation cycles. It has a robust data management component so you can integrate with your transaction systems. It has a cloud-based user interface which is intuitive, secure, and highly accessible. For example, if you are a new user and you need guidance, you can type a request into the Account Reconciliation Assistant like "Show me my reconciliations," and like Amazon's Alexa, the assistant will quickly retrieve information to meet your request. Also, users can find easy-to-access tutorials and application documentation available on the Academy card. Finally, you get out-of-the-box analytics for reporting reconciliation performance and compliance. Here are a few examples of the user interface. The screenshot on the left shows a view of a reconciliation document. The screenshot on the right shows a listing of reconciliations. If you click on the name of a reconciliation in the list, it will bring up a document like the one we see on the left. The reconciliation document shows the account ID and name prominently displayed at the top. There's an icon to the left of the account ID which can activate a slider, making other reconciliations accessible. Below the name is the period and any alerts. In this example, there's an unexplained difference alert. Below that, you see the balance summary section where there's links to see adjustment or transaction details. You can click on balances to see detailed information as well. You can click on a period within the prior ending balance graph down below, and the system will bring up the reconciliation document for that period. To the right, you see status information. Here it shows that this reconciliation is open with the preparer, Denise Adams. It also shows the due date has already passed and that there are no aging violations detected. The reconciliation can have attachments and comments, and they can be easily added. On the right side of the reconciliation document are icons, and when you click on one, it will activate a slider that unfolds to the right. The first tab is a Properties tab that lists information about the reconciliation, such as what account type it is and what its risk rating is. The second tab is for Instructions. This is where preparers can read about the proper procedure for completing the reconciliation. The third tab displays Workflow, identifying the preparer and the reviewers who will need to approve the reconciliation. The next tab shows any warnings, such as overdue status. Below that, we have the Attributes tab. This is where you can report and request descriptive information about the reconciliation. Next, we have Questions, and this is where you can have a set of questions to be answered either by preparers or reviewers or by both. And the responses to questions can be either made optional or mandatory. The next tab is another facility for adding and managing attachments, and also below that is another facility for entering and tracking comments. Next, we have a tab to see links to the prior period reconciliations. And then there at the bottom is a History tab showing when the reconciliations were opened and closed during the period by the preparers and reviewers. And at the very top, we see buttons, and this is where preparers can submit their completed reconciliation. And if the preparer is unable to complete, they can release the reconciliation to a team member, or they can make a request for a reassignment. Let's talk about profile properties. Reconciliations are created based on the combination of profiles and formats. Profiles are defined by the administrator or person managing the reconciliation process for an organization. Profiles contain properties that define a specific account, such as the account ID, account name, account description, account type, risk rating, format, and the method to be used for a reconciliation. You can define simple auto-reconciliation rules from the profile, like automatically close the reconciliation when the system detects a balance is zero condition. In the profile, the administrator can define workflow by assigning preparers and reviewers to the account. The preparers and reviewers can either be named users or teams. If teams are chosen, any member of the team can claim and take ownership of the reconciliation during a period. The administrator also sets the reconciliation frequency for the account in the profile workflow. The options are either monthly or quarterly. Based on the close calendar defined in the system, administrators can define start date for when reconciliations will begin and set a due date for some number of days after the start. In this slide, we are showing an example of one high-level view management can use to gain real-time visibility to the status and progress made during a reconciliation cycle. The pick lists above can be used to change the view. If management would like to see the detailed reconciliations, they can simply click on the graph or text displayed on the screen. Account Reconciliation Cloud comes with out-of-the-box reporting capability for the reconciliation compliance and transaction matching modules. Administrators can create custom reports and report groups. However, BI Publisher is typically needed for report design. With Account Reconciliation Cloud, you can define data integrations to receive data from your ERP. The source system balances for account reconciliations can be sourced from the general ledger, and subsystem balances can be sourced from accounts receivable, accounts payable, and your fixed assets subledgers. If you currently use Oracle's FDM-EE as your data integration solution for your on-premise applications, you can leverage that tool to push data to Account Reconciliation Cloud through the use of EPM Automate routines. Oracle is shifting away from the individual cloud services, so it is not possible to buy Account Reconciliation Cloud separately. The new model is one solution that supports 4 main business processes: planning, financial close, narrative reporting, and enterprise data management are those processes. Account Reconciliation Cloud is part of the financial close process. You can choose from either EPM Standard or EPM Enterprise. Let's take a look at what you get as part of the EPM Standard package. As I mentioned earlier, there are 4 processes. In the planning process, you get the pre-built planning apps for financials, workforce, projects, CapEx, and scenario modeling, as well as provisions for custom plan types. In the financial close process, you get consolidation, account reconciliation, task management, and supplemental data. Narrative reporting gives you your management reports and narration features, and data management is the cloud data integration tool that is used to receive data from your ERPs and data warehouses and then load that data to your cloud applications. So let's take a look at the EPM edition. You get much more with the Enterprise edition. In the planning process, for instance, you have more flexibility and room to expand. You get the added benefit of Groovy coding and freeform Essbase. The Enterprise edition includes an application called Enterprise Data Management, which can be used to manage your enterprise master data. It also includes an application called Profitability and Cost Management, where you can develop complex allocations. In the financial close process, you get the transaction matching component of account reconciliation, which is a great tool to handle large volumes of transactions in varying formats to do automated matching based on criteria you defined. Here we see the features listed side by side. Note that you're going to get the main functionality of account reconciliation in EPM Cloud Standard Edition, but with the Enterprise Edition, you're going to gain access to the awesome data matching functionality and transaction matching. I want to point out that the names of these EPM products was changed recently, and I still struggle to not refer to them using the old names. They are now business processes and no longer thought of as individual cloud services. I'm so used to referring to account reconciliations as ARCS or ARCs, but the acronyms like EPPCS and FCCS are no longer used by Oracle. Now let's explore the details of Account Reconciliation Cloud. Here's a view of the home page. All Oracle Cloud processes use the simplified user interface. They all have similar look and feel. Account Reconciliation provides role-based views within the application. As a preparer or reviewer, you can only see reconciliations for the profiles you are assigned to. If you're a power user, your access to reconciliations may be limited to specific entities, regions, or some other attribute. On this page, everyone can see the current reconciliation period, any announcements, and a status of all open, late, due today, or within 7 days reconciliations. If you want to explore the content behind these numbers, you can simply click and you will be taken to a tabular display. The cards that appear on the home page are the work list card, reconciliations, matching, dashboards, reports, application settings, tools, and academy. You may see fewer cards or fewer features within the cards based on your role. There is also a more advanced navigation window available if you click on the hamburger icon in the top left corner. Let's take a look at the work list. The work list shows a list and a status of reconciliations that are being worked on. Most users will want to use this view to quickly see status by all that are late, those that are due today, or those that are due in 7 days. They can get to this information by clicking on the summary statistics and graph on the right, or they can use the filter bar above the grid. And they can also use the filter bar to filter by attributes such as name or account type. In the work list display, users can toggle an icon, which is usually found next to the search bar when it's active, to quickly view their assigned reconciliations. They can also see reconciliation reassignment requests that pertain to them as well. Here we have a view of the reconciliation document. We reviewed this earlier in the presentation. Note that it is basically divided into sections. We have the balance summary. Below the summary, we have a graphic display of prior ending balances to give users a view of how the balance has been trending. And on the right side, we have reconciliation metrics and supporting details such as the assignee status, attachments, and commentary. The matching card lists all reconciliations created with transaction matching. It shows a description, the account name, the match type, the preparer's name, and all unmatched transactions. The process for performing matching involves importing transactional data. Auto-match rules are defined by the administrator and can be set to run after the data loads, or they can be executed on demand by the preparer. The auto-match rule will take care of all items that are exact matches and will produce a list of suggested matches that require approval by the preparer. Preparers can review a list of unmatched items and create manual matches. At any point, preparers can create a reconciliation balancing report. Let's look at what's behind the applications card. These application functions are accessible primarily to administrators and to a lesser extent power users. The overview shows recent reconciliation activity by users. It also shows time and dates of data loads and the number of reassignment requests that have been submitted today, over the last 7 days, and in total for the period. Profiles. This is a function that's used to define and manage all reconciliation templates, which are the basis for which data points are reconciled. Periods. This is where administrators manage the reconciliation cycle. Administrators can open, close, or lock periods from this facility. Administrators should avoid locking periods since once the period is locked, it cannot be reopened if needed. Configuration. This is used to set up the application and activate application settings like turning automatic email notifications on or off. This is also where formats are managed. Match types allows you to define a transaction matching process, including data source record layouts, matching rules, and journal record layouts for adjustment feeds back to source systems. Continuing with the application card, we have the jobs facility. This is basically a listing of all activity occurring within the system, from creation of reconciliations and data loads to email notifications. All history is logged for both modules, reconciliation compliance, as well as transaction matching. In the services facility, this is where a system administrator can restart or rerun email notifications, or open reconciliations, or perform system maintenance tasks like synchronizing users. In the archive facility, this allows administrators to back up reconciliations from a period so they can be taken offline and subsequently purge the data from the cloud. In the report configuration facility, this is where admins can create custom reports, report queries, and report groups. When you open the Academy card, you will find a vast amount of information, from short user tutorials covering all aspects of Account Reconciliation Cloud to in-depth reference materials that explain how to configure and administer the application. Now let's explore the process and the key components of the process. This is an overview of the account reconciliation process. Data loads can occur at any time, but typically final balances are loaded before reconciliations are opened to the preparers. Source system balances are loaded from the general ledger or data warehouse. Subsystem balances are loaded from subledgers like accounts receivable and accounts payable. As data is loaded, the system will execute auto-reconciliation rules which will compare balances between source system and subsystem and change the status of the reconciliations to closed when prescribed conditions are met. Automatic email notifications are sent to preparers if they have active reconciliations. And preparers can begin their reconciliations by loading supporting details to explain balances, answering required questions, and providing documentation in the form of attachments. Once they're complete, they will submit their reconciliations for review. Reviewers may have their own set of tasks. They will be responsible for approving or rejecting the reconciliations. If there is a rejection, the system will notify the preparer, informing them of the status. Management will have dashboards to monitor the process from a high level. Let's talk about how data is loaded. The system supports pre-mapped data loads through the user interface. Administrators may be responsible for loading source system and subsystem balances because profiles are usually set up with these balances defined as read-only. However, preparers can load balance explanations and adjustment transactions directly to their reconciliations using the pre-mapped data load facilities as well. Data management is the cloud version of FDM-EE. You can configure robust data integrations for your source system data using this facility. FDM-EE on-premise can be used as well to integrate Account Reconciliation Cloud with your source systems. EPM Automate or OneCloud can be used along with Data Management or FDM-EE to push data to the cloud. This is a basic example of a data load file for loading source or subsystem balances. Take note that the balance import requires these exact columns and column headings. You must include, at a minimum, a reconciliation account ID, an amount, and a currency code. Depending on your configuration, you may need to indicate which currency bucket you are loading balances for as well. The user interface offers a couple different entry points where preparers can load balances using the import pre-mapped balance functions. They can find it available on the work list and on the reconciliations list under the Actions menu. Administrators have the added option of loading balances from the Periods tab. The Import Pre-Mapped Balances dialog will prompt you for a file name from your local computer, the reconciliation period, a source type, which can be either source or subsystem balance. You must also indicate what currency bucket to load balances into, Your options are either the entered currency, functional, or reporting currency. Lastly, you must indicate what file format you are loading. It can be either comma or tab delimited. And when loading balances, note that the system will replace balances that were loaded previously in their entirety. Also, you have to load to currency buckets for balances because the system does not automatically translate entered currency to functional in reporting. Transactions can be loaded using the pre-mapped transactions option. Specific column headers are required. You must have a column for transaction date, reconciliation account ID, amount 1, and amount currency 1. Optionally, you can add columns to load additional attributes to describe the transaction in more detail. You can load additional columns for other currency buckets, but if you have currency rates defined in the system, you should not need to load data for any other currency bucket besides entered, since the system will automatically translate entered to functional in reporting after data is loaded. Transactions entered previously using the pre-mapped transactions facility will be replaced. Transactions entered manually or imported using the import facilities available in the reconciliation document will not be impacted. If you need to automate the mapping of data from your source systems to a format required for upload to the cloud, use FDMEE or data management along with EPM Automate to map balances and transactions and then upload to the cloud. Otherwise, it's very easy to use the import pre-mapped functionality in the user interface to upload your files. And just note, the reconciliation account ID is the identifier that matches the profile and must be on every record. Data can be imported for periods that have pending, open, or closed statuses. As an administrator, you can begin loading data before reconciliations have been created. Balances and transactions will sit in the system tables, and once reconciliations are created, the balances and transactions will be present in the reconciliations for viewing. If balances are loaded while reconciliations are being performed, if balances change where the status of a reconciliation was closed or open with reviewer, it will automatically be changed to open with preparer. If balance doesn't change, the status does not change. The same is true when transactions change for a reconciliation. Now, a little more explanation about what data management is. Data management is the EPM Cloud data integration tool used to create systematic processes for loading data from disparate systems into target analytical applications in the cloud. It is often referred to as FDMEE Lite. EPM Automate is used in conjunction to facilitate the process of uploading data from on-premises file systems. With a little bit of instruction, business users can quickly learn how to define data mapping rules. And when you use data management with your account reconciliation application, you will have drill-through capability to source data as an option from your balance summary in your reconciliation document. Auto reconciliations can be easily configured at the profile or format level. You should try to configure these rules for low-risk accounts first. As an example, authorize its use for zero balance accounts, or where you're matching general ledger to subledger within a tolerance. You can also customize your auto-rec to use specific logic for your organization and compliance policies. Here is an example of an email notification. Preparers and reviewers receive email notifications for status changes, upcoming due dates, and delinquencies. Preparers perform a myriad of tasks, some of which include reviewing balances loaded into reconciliations. They may notice several of their reconciliations were automatically closed due to auto-reconciliation rules. When certain conditions exist, they may see a flag raised or a risk rating escalated as a result of an automated rule within a reconciliation. To reduce manual data entry, they may leverage the copy forward functionality to retrieve adjustment or transaction data from prior period reconciliations. They will load reconciling items to explain balances and provide support for the reconciliation. They may be required to attach supporting information and provide commentary or create action plans to address unexplained differences. They may also create amortization and depreciation schedules to set up roll forwards for future periods. Reviewer tasks include responding to review notifications, following prescribed procedures to ensure reconciliations were performed according to policy. They will provide feedback in the commentary section, or flag attributes, or change risk ratings, or respond to questions that are required. They must ultimately give their approval or reject the reconciliation. Reviewers may not necessarily be required to review the reconciliation on the same frequency as the preparer. Let's look at some of the dashboards that are available. Here we have a view of the overview dashboard. It is used to monitor status of account reconciliations. You get a count of open, late, and on-time reconciliations. Next, we have a view of the compliance dashboard. The compliance dashboard is used to view performance by individual or by organization. You can see the statistics on reconciliations completed, prepared on time, reviewed on time, rejected, and warnings. And finally, we have the Match Metrics dashboard, which provides a view by match type for a given data import date. You get a count of the number of confirmed match, suggested match, and unmatched transactions. In this example, we see the statistics for an accounts payable to purchase order matching. Profiles are the primary basis of every reconciliation. The profile will carry all of the metadata about a specific account. You want to devise an appropriate identifier for the profiles to efficiently organize accounts that are subject to reconciliation. In the initial system configuration and setup, the administrator will define profile segments to meet the needs of the company. The goal is to have the ability to group reconciliations for distribution to appropriate levels throughout an organization. In the screenshot example, we have an account ID made up of two profile segments, company code and GL account. The system will automatically include a dash between the two segments to form the account ID used in the system to identify profile or a reconciliation. Profiles are a living document and can change as the business changes. Reconciliations are a snapshot in time and are not impacted for prior periods when profiles change. Updated profiles will apply for future reconciliations only. Formats define what the reconciliation will look like and what information will be required from preparers or reviewers during the reconciliation. For example, the labels or titles used in the line items of the balance summary are defined in the format. Formats can be applied to various types of accounts. It is more efficient to define standard reconciliation rules at the format level rather than at the profile level. Account Reconciliation Cloud comes with pre-built formats for your standard account types like accounts payable, accruals, bank reconciliation, and many others. But there are only two basic reconciliation methods used by most of those formats, and that is the balance comparison method and the account analysis method. Within the balance summary, labels can be modified and turned on or off as needed. You also can adjust the schedules for the adjustments for either the subsystem or source system. In the format, you can define the attributes you want to record for your transactions. If you want to see invoice number, for example, or purchase order date, or the original cost information, you can define that as an attribute in the system and add it to the transaction record layout. You can create custom formats to handle specific accounts where you want to make sure preparers answer specific questions, or perhaps you want to define specific rules to validate data or require attachments. Similar to profiles, formats can change without any impact to prior reconciliations where they were used. Let's review the reconciliation methods. First, we have the balance comparison method. This is essentially a one-to-one comparison between a source system balance and a subsystem balance, or a balance from another source. For example, general ledger versus bank statement balance. If a difference exists, the preparer will enter an adjustment on the source or on the subsystem in order to explain the difference. Next, we have the account analysis method. This method is used for accounts that have no comparative balance from another source. A balance is typically loaded into the source system, and then the preparers are required to enter support to explain the composition of the balance in the balance explanations. If any difference results, then an adjustment entry may need to be applied, or an unexplained difference will remain in the reconciliation, and then perhaps an action plan will need to be created. Last, we have the variance analysis method. It is used for accounts that you want to compare over time. For example, current month versus prior month. The balance for the source system is loaded for the current period, and then the system will reference a prior period for comparison. If any difference exists, the preparer will use the variance explanations section to load their support to explain the change in balance. For a company that is currently using a manual process or no process for managing account reconciliations, we recommend a phased approach to roll out Account Reconciliation Cloud to your organization company-wide. As a first step, consider using a tracking-only approach. Preparers can continue using their current process, but will be required to log on to the Account Reconciliation Cloud to attach their Excel documentation. They will become accustomed to entering information into a couple of simplified formats. In the tracking-only format, users will log on and open their reconciliations to review the source system balances that have been preloaded, and then they will prepare their documentation for attachment and then key in the balance from their reconciliations. In the tracking with the reconciling items format, users will be allowed to follow a similar approach, but have the added option where they can enter their reconciliation detail directly in the system. An organization can quickly realize benefits from this initial step because they will be developing a centralized repository for their reconciliations, and will start to gain some ability to monitor and track the statuses. Next, implement the easier reconciliations like accounts supported by subledgers, especially those where you're certain they're likely to auto-reconcile. Perhaps you have some candidate accounts in accounts payable, accounts receivable, or fixed assets. And then finally, take on the more complex accounts that require manual reconciliation. Accounts that may fall into this category may be accounts like prepaids and accruals. To bring governance to these accounts, you will want to design formats that help reduce risk by adding validation rules, aging limits on balance explanations, or require responses to questions, or require action plans for unexplained differences. You want to be sure to target the highest risk accounts first. At NRL, we are committed to continuing education. This was an introduction to Account Reconciliation Cloud, and I feel like it touched the surface of most of the features of this business process. However, I feel like a deeper dive into the reconciliation process from a preparer's perspective would be a good area to focus for next time, or a deeper dive into how transaction matching integrates with reconciliations may be another area that we can explore. If you're interested in learning more, please check out our Play It Forward videos at epm.bi/videos.
And also, don't forget, we have several best-selling books on BI, EPM Cloud, Essbase, and planning.
Thanks for attending. Have a great day, everyone.